This is Gem Radio episode 9, and I am your host and curator, Mr. B, and we're finally back. It's been some time since I've done an episode, and as you know, me and Fast Caesar are back with the third season of the Indie Gold podcast, and soon I will be reinvigorating the Golden Era Music Group YouTube page with Indie Gold Bites, which are pretty much pivotal moments in the episode of the Indie Gold podcast. And also for Gem Radio, I will be uploading interviews with the beat makers and artists like Stone Drums, Good Food, today's guest, and every guest going forth. And with no further ado, I want to give a background on how I got the chance to discover this man's talent. And just like any artist I play on this show, I scout them, and after doing the Stone Drums and the Good Food episode, I wanted to play more records that were in the same vein of boom bap, lo-fi, and jazz sampling production. And Breezin' came up, and I included it in my Beats and Flips mix on Gem Radio episode 7, Follow the Leader. And then I go back and I remember the name when the good people at Transit Blog did an interview article off the hype of his new beat tape project at the time, Chalice. And I've had the chance to see him live at the Freqshow Christmas show at the Hive, and his performance was dope. And on Gem Radio, we like to bring attention to those that should be on your radar, because this guy is most definitely talented. So I would like to introduce, straight from the slums of Shaolin, we have Kaycyphr, aka Luke Choppington, on Gem Radio. Yeah, how you doing, sir?
What's up? Chillin', man. Appreciate you having me, bro.
Yeah. So how did the name Kaycyphr come about?
Well, basically, like back when I was young, like, you know, in high school, I was about like 14, 15. I started rapping. You know, I was just chilling with a bunch of my fellas or whatever, and you know, we were just rapping in Cypher. So, you know, I kind of like, you know, referred to myself as Cypher, and then you know, all my boys was calling me that, whatever. So, and eventually, I would say maybe around like shortly after high school, when I was about 18, 19, I got into beats. And once I got into the beats, I wanted to kind of take a different approach. Figured out, like, you know, change my name up a little bit. So that's when I threw the K in front of there. You know what I mean?
He also go by the name of Luke Choppington, or
yes, sir.
So how did that one?
Well, basically,
I know that was like the first beat tape, the EP you had was Lord Choppington.
Yeah, Luke Choppington EP. Yeah,
the EP.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it just sounded cool. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, I used to, when I first started making beats, you know, obviously you know, as a beat maker, when you first start off, you're not really, you don't have too much knowledge on it, you know, so I used to just make really simple, you know, loops. And then eventually, as I kind of got like a better grasp on beat making, I started like chopping up records and stuff like that. So one day it just came to my mind, like, oh, Luke Choppington, like, yeah, that's fine, I like that. You know what I mean?
So you grew up in New York. So you grew up in Staten Island. How was it, like, you know, growing up in Staten Island?
You know, where the Woo was built at. Honestly, it was it's not much different than growing up in a place like Brooklyn or Queens or Manhattan. You know, it's really just, you know, it's definitely quieter here. You know what I mean? It's a lot more. It's a lot more, you know, intricate. Sometimes, like, you know, you'll be in one place and you go a couple blocks down and it feels like you somewhere entirely different. But at the end of the day, I know we're a forgotten borough, but it's still New York at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So, but Staten is, you know, there might be a lot of negativity out here, but I know definitely you know, the culture is definitely strong out here, hip hop wise. You know what I mean? I feel like it just hasn't really been brought to the forefront, you know, ever since Woo did their thing. You know what I mean? I feel like the hip hop hasn't really been brought to the forefront like it should be, but I know that the culture out here is thriving. You know what I mean?
In your own words, how can you describe your style of production?
Honestly, I just cut right to it, and boom bap. That's my that's my main. You know what I mean? I like to step out of my element a little bit and do some experimental, little bit of Sometimes I mess around with some electronic sounds here and there, but sometimes I like to blend the old with the new. You know what I mean? But for the most part, definitely boom bap. That hard body type, because that's where my heart is at. So.
Word. You released a project with Freqshow member Mellow Mark called Circle. In the vein of certain collaborative projects like J Dilla and Madlib or Alchemist and Oh No, how is it to collaborate with a fellow beat maker to make a cohesive, dope project?
Yes, shout to Mellow Mark, by the way. That's the homie, man. I heard I was kind of scouting. I do some scouting myself, but I peeped this stuff a while back. It was actually before I got into the Freqshow. I went to, it was last summer back, last July. Jamar Jacobs had he threw an event in his crib.
Well, shout out to Jamar.
Yeah, shout out to Jamar, man. He threw an event at his house, right? And Mello was headliner. He was one of he was performing that day. Crack, I was chopping it up with him. Shout out to Crack. Pretty much, and I let him know what the deal was. On how I was doing this music thing, and I came all the way out to Jersey, and people was looking at me like, "Damn, you from Staten? You came all the way out here?" But that's mainly, it's just my love for beats and hip hop in general, man. This is the first time I really heard of a beat show. So, at that point I knew Jersey was where it's at. So, pretty much came out, chopped it up with all them. One thing led to another. Crack got me on Freak, started doing shows with them. Okay. And Mello, I've been fucking with his stuff for a while, so I reached out to him, and we had a couple sessions previously to that, but I reached out to him. I was like, yo, we need to do a tape. You know what I mean? So one thing led to another. We did the collab, put some tracks together, and then after the release, we got really good feedback from the tape, so I was really happy with that.
Oh, and it's a pretty dope tape, to be honest. Yeah, it's a pretty dope tape. And now you're a part of the Freqshow, which is like a New Jersey-based collective, and you pretty much, you told me about, how you got in. Now, what about the Freqshow made you want to become a member?
Honestly, man, I know I'm the only member of the Freqshow that isn't a New Jersey native, but overall, man, when it comes to Freqshow, the first time I went to a Freqshow was, I would say, maybe around 2 years ago, and it was at Mellow Mel's studio. And honestly, I saw a Brain Orchestra perform. I saw Met Plus was there too. Shout to Met Plus. Mr. Arcade, pretty much everybody on Freak had a set that night. You know what I mean? And honestly, man, I never felt more inspired just to see them cats do their thing. And at this time, I was making beats. I was already doing it for a couple of years, but I took a really long hiatus. I kind of stepped away from it for a while for foolish reasons, but I couldn't really understand why. But once I went to that Freqshow, that's when I really got my inspiration back. And then after that, I was like, all right, no more playing games. I'm getting back into this music. You know what I mean? So ever since, it kind of helped me overcome that obstacle. You know what I mean? So that they were just a major inspiration to me. So for me, it's an honor to be a part of the very people that inspire me to get back into the music and really do it for real. You know what I mean?
Now, before the Freqshow, what were you doing? Is there anything that we should know anything about?
Well, before Freqshow, mainly I was kind of I don't really regret taking the long hiatus from the music because, you know, everything happens for a reason. Um, you know, I stepped away from beats for a little bit over a year of not making anything. And I mean, sometimes, you know, it just happens like that. Sometimes you gotta, you know, step away and live life and, you know, go through the trials and tribulations. And then once you come back to the music, you come back stronger. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's kind of how I feel about it. Mainly, I was just, you know, I was just working, trying to get opportunities. You know what I mean? I spent a lot of that time just listening to a lot of other artists and other creatives, and just, you know, I spent a lot of that time just mainly gathering inspiration. You know what I mean?
What are your top 3 producers, your favorite producers? And it could be 5.
Favorite? Man, that's tough. Because I listen to so many. I listen to so many, man. But honestly, when it really comes down to it, I would say my main influences to make beats. I would say definitely Dilla, Pete, and Madlib.
Great choice.
You know, definitely.
What are your favorite projects from those guys?
Oh man. Honestly, when it comes to Pete, my favorite project from Pete is that I Center of Attention album. That was that, and also Grap Lover had produced some joints on that as well. And honestly, that whole album was ridiculous to me. Like front to back was just one of the most amazing hip hop albums of all time to me. And you know, a lot of people don't talk about that one, but that's a heavily slept on project. So that's definitely one of my favorites. But mainly when it comes to Dilla, I would say one of my favorite projects from Dilla is J Love Japan. That's definitely like one of the top for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And how you feel they affected you as a beat maker?
Me as a beat maker, to be honest, when it comes to like, I mean, I discovered all of these cats at a young age, so I kind of like grew up listening to them. You know what I mean? But you know, for instance, like it was just a major inspiration seeing the different approaches they took. For instance, you look at Madlib, and he kind of took you to all these different places in the world, you know, through his music. Beat conductor in India, you know, beat conductor in Africa. He was doing all that crazy shit, you know what I mean, and kind of bringing you to all these different places. And you know, Dilla brought such a strong like emotion into his beats with a lot of different sounds, and you know, he was just so versatile as a producer. So I mean, honestly, that impacted me a lot. It showed me that versatility is key, and don't be afraid to do different things and step outside the box musically. You know what I mean? I would say they definitely had that effect on me. You know what I mean?
Being that you're from New York, there's been a huge resurgence in hip hop. I just want to know if you agree with that or not.
A resurgence in hip hop? I mean, I would say yes and no, to be honest. I mean, but I mean, I guess I would disagree because, you know, there's still so much out there, and sometimes, like, you know, sometimes when it really comes to all the different sounds that comes out of New York, you can't really generalize it into one thing. You know what I mean? Personally, there's just so many cats out there doing it. You know what I mean? Of course, like, you know, nowadays, you know, the whole Atlanta trap thing is big right now. So, you know what I mean? But when it comes to New York, you get so many different sounds and so many different people doing it. You know what I mean? It's kind of hard to say, but I would say hip hop is definitely like real hip hop, like boom bap is definitely, you know, becoming more prominent in New York and on the East Coast in general. You know what I mean? Because we are the originators of that. You know what I mean? So I was
underground. Are there any like underground hip hop artists or you're currently or feeling like you've like, you know, met them before?
So
we don't know nothing about.
Actually, yeah. Like from New York or not from New York?
Well, yeah, from New York.
From New York, right? That's tough because there's so many of them. There's a lot of dudes really doing it. I mean, Joey Badass kind of gave us like a breath of fresh air when it comes to like young cats and doing like the whole boom bap and going back to that original essence, like that element. I guess maybe you could consider Joey underground still or not, but I still see him as that artist. And Astro was definitely dope. A lot of dudes, but also hard to believe there's a lot of people that's not from New York that just has that New York sound and is doing that heavy boom bap shit. You know what I mean? Like shout to Fly Anakin and Concept Jackson. Like I would say they're probably one of my favorite people really out here like spitting right now. You know what I mean? But they from Virginia, I believe. But they really doing it, man. Like they, I've been peeping that shit heavy. Definitely feeling that. Also West Side Gun and Conway.
Yeah, man, they're dope. You're a huge fan of those guys, man.
They really killing it right now. Also they from Buffalo, still New York State, but they really doing their thing right now. They're bringing that hard body shit. I know they did a project with Alchemist, entirely produced by Alchemist. So I'm really fucking with them right now. But West Side Gun and Conway, I'm definitely feeling right now. The project they did with Alchemist, West Side's the Hitler Wears Hermes series, like all that shit is heavy.
In regards to the beat scene, other than yourself, like who do you feel that the publisher look into?
In the beat scene, aside from, I listen to so many cats that I bang with, you know what I mean? Like I listen to Freqshow cats all the time. Like I bump Brain, I bump Arcade. Like I'm always listening to them dudes. But aside from that, other cats that I'm really feeling out of Jersey as well, I would say is definitely Savior to Savior. DZ Finesse. I'm really messing with his shit too. He's from Queens. He lays down the bars and the beats, so he got the best of both worlds. So I would say he's definitely one of who I'm really keeping my ear out for right now. And we actually got a collab coming soon, so definitely ready for that.
What music are you listening to right now?
What kind of music am I bumping right now? Well, to be honest, past couple of days I've just been listening to jazz and soul. You know what I mean? I picked up a bunch of vinyl recently. I just been listening, aside from sampling, I just been listening. You know what I mean? But when it comes to stuff that I'm bumping right now, Raekwon's new album, The Wild. Oh, that shit is crazy. Definitely impressed with that. A lot of Rock Marciano.
Yeah.
Sean Price, rest in peace. I'm always listening to Sean, you know what I mean?
Rest in peace. I remember when I had a whole summer and I was bumping nothing but Sean Price. So yeah, man, I feel you.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to meet Sean at one point and chop it up with him. So, I would say his death probably hit me the hardest out of a lot of people. Like, I went to a barbecue in Brownsville, had the opportunity to speak with him and whatnot, and he was a real humble, good dude, you know what I mean? So his death definitely hit me the hardest, when it was somebody you got the opportunity to to speak to. So rest in peace, Sean, man.
Yeah. And who would you like to work with? You know, as a goal in mind, who would you like to work with?
Producer or rapper?
Yeah, produce for.
Like to produce for? Man, that's tough. I mean, I would say, Elzai is definitely up there. Like,
yeah,
you know,
he needs you. I think he suffers from Nod syndrome. I really think he does. I think
he is extremely overlooked by many. And to be honest, if you ask me, he's up there like top 5 dead or alive. You know what I mean? Elzai, like his lyrical content really can't be touched in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? So he is definitely one of those dudes that I would love to work with. Other than that, you know, production wise, I would say Alchemist. I would definitely love to work with. You know what I mean? You know, like Sam I Am and Knowledge and dudes like that. You know. So on a production tip, I feel like I could learn a lot from those cats. You know what I mean? So
you could.
So you know, that's definitely something I would like to do in the future.
So this is a question I never have asked any of the beat makers. I want to start asking, so based off of like life situations. So I want to know, what bothers you today in music, current events, and life itself?
What bothers me today in music currently? To be honest, I would say radios. I feel that radios aren't putting on enough New York artists. They're not putting on enough East Coast artists, because the radio in the first place was there to put on their local artists. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what they were really there to begin with. But I feel like nowadays, even a lot of, you know, independent radio shows, they're you know, the stuff you hear on the radio, you know, all due respect to that, that's cool, but the whole, you know, the Migos and the Kodak Black and the Future and all that, and a lot of them is all playing the same shit. You know what I mean? But there's no balance, you know what I'm saying? It's just like you got all this, you know, Atlanta this, Atlanta that, trap this, trap that, but, you know, you don't hear no boom bap most of the time. So I feel like there's nothing wrong with, you know, Atlanta and the whole trap movement, and it's cool and all that, but I would not be as frustrated if there was more of a balance. You see what I'm saying? If there was more of like, you know, you mix everything in together. Now I feel like it's kind of just one-sided. You know what I mean? And
so for these radio stations, bottom line in the first place, like that's why you see the majority of New York radio favoring Southern artists.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, I would definitely say that the main thing that's that frustrates me is radio. They just not putting on people that they, and you know, and you got a lot of these dudes, a lot of these aspiring rappers and producers, and so many of these people are so talented, and they fighting and kicking and screaming to get a little bit of airtime, and you know, some of these dudes just don't show them no love, don't give them the time of the day. But you know, meanwhile the cats that already got the record deal and they already getting plays all over the place, they just put them on even further instead of putting on the people that deserve it more. You know what I'm saying? So that's, I feel like, it's very biased, and it's very radio personalities a lot of the times are very one-sided. You know what I mean? In terms of who they really want to put on. But if you look at radio from back in the day, they was putting on people, you know, so many people from around the way. You know what I mean? From their city, putting on their city. So, you know, I feel like, you know, a certain aspect of, that's the aspect of radio that needs to come back, is, you know, pride in their city and putting on people from their city. You know what I mean?
Right, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. People hear the name Kaycyphr. What do you want people to think about you?
What I want people to think when they hear the name Kaycyphr, I mean, like, you know, true. just somebody real true, somebody real raw and straightforward. You know what I mean? Something. I mean, like, it feels kind of weird jumping the gun and saying like legendary, but fuck it, I'ma say it, legendary. You know what I mean? Like,
you gotta have confidence in yourself.
Absolutely.
You have the talent to go to where as far as you want to go.
Absolutely. So for me,
what word you use.
Absolutely. So I would definitely say legendary because I grew up loving hip hop, listening to so much hip hop, around so much hip hop. You know what I mean? And it just taught me a lot about life in general and just growing up and doing things even in everyday situations. So for me, I feel like what hip hop has given me, from when I was growing up, I feel like I kind of want to give that back. I want somebody to hear my stuff and hear my music throughout their life and, have them inspire them and teach them things, you know what I mean? And kind of just, give them a certain vibe and give them more confidence in what they do every day, same way that a lot of these artists have done with me, you know what I mean? So I just, at the end of the day, I just want to give back and share my music, you know what I mean? I'm not really about the money and the politicking, to be honest, it's all about positivity and just sharing my music with people, and that's it. It's not meant for everybody. It's meant for those who understand it and those who appreciate it. You know what I mean? I don't expect everybody to, vibe with my shit or they hear it and they like, oh yeah, this is dope, or I'm not expecting that. I just, it's for the people that understand it.
So so pretty much you're creating music for you. Everything else is subjective.
Exactly. I originally create music for myself. Whoever really, whoever is vibing with it along the way, then that's always much appreciated, and that helps me to keep going. But I feel like that's how it should be for any artist. You should just make music for yourself. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's for Kaycyphr.
Most definitely.
So, what's next for Kaycyphr?
So what's next? To be honest, man, I see a lot of big things coming. Just a lot of different collaborations. I'm definitely excited for this summer coming up. A lot of collaborations. Should be doing, making moves with Freq, as always. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for, I should be doing some music showcases in Queens this summer. So I'm ready for that. I'm just excited to move around and just, link with different people and, spread my music even further. You know what I mean? I've seen the progression that I've had over the past year, so it only inspires me to keep going more and more. Not too long ago, Eric Sherman actually reached out to me on Instagram because he stumbled across one of my live videos, and I was just playing beats. I was just playing some beats, and I seen that he joined the video, and he was like, "Wow, like this is dope." So he gave me his email, and he was like, "Yo, let's try to do something." I was like, "Yo, damn!" I was like, "This is Eric Sherman." Like I was blown away at that. So I mean, at that point, that was like that moment where I was like, I gotta be doing something right. You know what I mean? So so that was definitely inspiring to me. Also, I know you was there at the Hive on the Christmas show. Rod Digger had me on the live stream and she was recording, so she definitely took an interest in my work. So that was another like major up to my confidence. So
you, like I said, you're beyond talented. Like you got a bright future ahead. How old are you?
I'm 23.
You have a bright future. You have much more time than I do.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that.
On this shit. So therefore, you got a long time to become a master of the craft.
I mean, I still feel like Yeah, I mean, I still feel like I'm new to it. You know what I mean? I still feel like it's a new thing for me. You know what I mean? So I'm just ready for.
Man, like, you had the Chalice project. I thought that shit was incredibly dope.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. That I would consider Chalice like that was definitely like my debut. You know what I mean? That was like my first, project that was really thought out and put together. Everything else was kind of like compilations of stuff. But
right.
that was my first like real project. You know what I mean?
Right. And also you had the project with Mellow Mark and Circles, and that's pretty.
Yes.
And that one's the
Circles Part 2 coming soon.
A really good one.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So do you have any events that you want to plug? Also, like your social media, any projects? Would be the perfect time to plug all of that away. Patreons. Like, you have anything you got to plug in to the people? Because we want to get the people. We want to follow you and check your movement, because you're most definitely going to be having a great future.
I mean, Instagram at Kaycyphr, no E, Kaycyphr. Same with Twitter. I know, I'm sorry, I'm never on Twitter, but I'm trying to use it more actively now. SoundCloud.com/Kaycyphr. Same with the Bandcamp. Honestly, man, just more projects coming soon. You know what I mean? Right now, I'm not gonna lie, I've been hoarding. I've been sleeping on a lot of unreleased material, so I've just been waiting for the right time to kind of put it together and get it out there. So, more Mellow Mark collaborations definitely coming soon. More collaborations, with the CDP fam. Shout out to Still Floating Stew. Shout out to Wildflower. Like a lot of collaborations, just, with a lot of different cats, just a lot of stuff is coming, man. You know what I mean?
Word. Set. That's going to be featured after this interview. What do the people have to expect when this beat set?
What to expect? I mean, expect nothing but good vibes. You know what I mean? That's really what it's about. You're just bringing a good vibe with the music. That's my main goal. So just trying to lay down some shit that'll make your head bop. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I want to thank Kaycyphr for being the fourth guest. No. Actually, no, it's not the fourth guest. You actually are the third guest on Gem Radio. I'm like, damn, you having me. It's been a long time to did these shows. It's like I've been focusing on the other podcast. Like I forgot about the other podcast.
Right.
But yeah, man. And like I want to thank Kaycyphr for being the third guest on Gem Radio. And like I said, I want to keep on pushing the culture. We get to learn about these newer artists that are like doing major things, and not only that, if they're fucking dope, they need to be shown to the world. So yeah, man, I'd like to thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. You know what I mean? It's the first time I've actually been interviewed. So,
really?
It's yeah. So it's cool. I mean, I did an interview previously with Transit Blog.
Yeah.
But this is my first like actual,
audio.
Yeah, audio interview. So I appreciate that, man. You know what I mean?
And don't forget, we're going to be uploading this one up to YouTube, and I got to do a lot of ton of fucking editing, because Google Hangouts has been fucking up for the last couple of weeks. So we gotta do what we gotta do.
Yeah. I mean, like,
it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's some kind of alternative. You know what I mean? I mean, I'll be on Skype too, so you could catch me on there. You know what I mean?
I'm sorry, yo. Every time post me on Skype, I'm like, yo, we just have this ongoing joke about one of our friends we play video games with having a Skype set for somebody. It's just the most And I'm like, yo, that's what Skype is used for from now on.
Yeah, man.
Man,
That's
thank you
crazy.
Cypher, for being on the show.
Thank you, man.
We're going to sign out of Gem Radio. I am Mr. B, the founder, the curator, and lover of great music. This is Gem Radio. Let's get into this beat set from Kaycyphr.